StraiGhtAllDay.com.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into one framework, one approach. Actually, there's a bunch of different frameworks. You put this together into a bunch of different frameworks, a bunch of different ways that you can approach and handle and address your challenges in life. We got a bunch of different strategies that you can utilize. I'm going to refer you to a bunch of them. And we wrote a bunch of different books on this subject that can help you with further enrichment. All of this all under one umbrella that also includes the name of this daily masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how you cut your timelines in half. Yes, you heard me correctly. Cut your timelines in half. How can you get the same stuff done that you're trying to get done right now in half the time? Is that even possible? Is there a way to do this? Is this some kind of wordplay game that I'm playing on you? Yes, there is a way to do it. Yes, it is possible. And no, this is not a joke that I'm playing on you here. So before I get into explaining how exactly you do this, because there is a way to do it, first let me tell you all that I send out a daily motivation text message every single morning, and I know that you will want to receive it. If you listen to this show, of course you will want to receive my daily motivation text. I send it out every day. It's going to keep you sharp, focused, and on point for your day that lays ahead of you. To get that message completely free of charge straight to your phone, just send me a quick text right now and say hello at 305-384-6894. Again, my number is 305-384-6894. When you text me at that number, once we confirm that it's you, you'll be getting that daily motivation, and you can engage with me there because I spend time every day going through my text messages, checking them, and responding to people who text me. So if you want to text with me, that is the way to do it at that number as well. So with that being said, let's talk about today's topic, how to cut your timelines in half. How can you get the same stuff done in less time, or in the same amount of time, get twice as much done? Because I know a lot of people who listen to the show are interested in productivity and getting more done and just being more efficient with the time that you have, more efficient with your resources. How can you do that? Is there a way? Let's talk about it. Point number one, topic again, how to cut your timelines in half. First of all, stop doing everything by yourself. This is the first way to cut your timelines in half, is to stop trying to do everything on your own. You have one brain, you have two hands, two legs. The challenge with that is no matter how good you are, how hard you work, there are going to be holes in your performance simply because you can't do everything. You don't have every skill, and you're not efficient at every single thing that you do. Even if you try to do everything, you're not efficient at all those everything that you're doing. You shouldn't be doing them. You either don't have every skill to be proficient, or you don't enjoy every task enough to be efficient. So explore your options for enrolling others to help you out. You will go further in doing so, and you will get more done through other people than you'll ever get done on your own. So don't think that it's just money that you need in order to get help from other people as well. So if you think the reason why you can't get help from other people right now, at least in some areas, is because you don't have the money and you can't pay them, understand there are many ways you can get help from somebody without paying them money. You can create momentum and offer people a piece of the upside of what you have going on. Maybe they are just looking to get involved with something. I told you a couple days ago that one of the main things that a lot of people are looking for in life right now is purpose. And purpose is not necessarily tied to money. I mean, how many people, I couldn't even tell you how many people I've talked to over the years who are making money, making plenty of money. They were well taken care of financially. Their family's well taken care of financially, but they didn't feel like they were living their purpose, even though they're making the kind of money that they want to make. They might have wanted to make some changes, maybe even be willing to give up some of the money that they were making in order to go after the thing that they felt like was their real purpose. So understand that even if that's not you, if that's not the case for you personally, understand that some people are looking at it like that way, that, yeah, I got the money, but am I really pursuing my purpose? Am I really doing what I want to do with my life? So offering people purpose sometimes can make up for what you lack in financial resources. Don't think that it's just money. There are many ways to get help with people. Offer people, again, to get involved with something that can connect to what their purpose will be. Look for, on a more tactical level, look for some kind of software or application that can do what you need it to do. It's just that the computer or the algorithm can do the work and doesn't need a paycheck. If you can have some kind of software, some type of program, now you might have to pay for access to the program, but you can use it as much as you want, hopefully, if there are no humans involved, and you're getting more work done as much as you want to send that software or that program to do. while at the same time freeing some time up for yourself, and all you're doing is exchanging some money, not a ton of money, but some money for access to it. So these are some ways that you can stop doing everything by yourself. It's not necessarily that you have to hire another person, which maybe has crossed your mind at some point. And I did talk about hiring in an episode on delegation. I've done a few episodes on delegation, most specifically episode 1100, Delegation 101 for entrepreneurs, and episode number 664, how to delegate work in your business. So make sure you check both of those out. So since you don't have every skill, and even if you did, you couldn't use them all at the same time, don't do all the work yourself. And if you are doing all the work yourself, start strategizing for how you can stop doing all the work yourself. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to cut your timelines in half. Second thing you can do is skip steps. Yes, skip steps. Stop following every step. Sometimes we have longer than necessary timelines to what we're doing because we think we need to go through 7 steps to get something done, when in actuality, we only need to go through 3 steps. Just because everyone else follows a certain pattern doesn't mean you have to follow the exact same pattern. For example, Tony Robbins, a well-known motivational speaker, I guess we'll call him. He was telling a story in one of his programs of how when he first decided that he was going to help people with their lives, help empower people, help people change their lives, he went to this like a training program for certifying people to be like psychologists or life coaches or something like that, some kind of certification program. And it was maybe the first or second day of the program, Tony's getting the material that's being taught to him. He's in his class with a bunch of other people who are getting the same certification. Tony's all excited. He's like, man, and he's talking to his classmates. He's like, man, let's go out and start helping people. We got enough stuff that we can at least get started. Tony understood, as I've explained in the past, the 10% rule of information in action, which I talked about in episode 1429. He had about 10% of the information, and he's ready to go do something with it, which I would suggest he do. But his classmates, the people who were also taking the class, they frowned upon what Tony suggested. They said, no, you can't go do anything yet. First, you got to go through this whole course, which was like, they had only been through about 10% of it. You got to go through all the 90% of the course. Then you have to get certified. Then when you get certified, then you had to do a certain amount of training in the field. And then you got to get, okayed by this person and that person. There was all this red tape you had to go through in order to finally be in a position where you could actually go out and help people. And Tony, he was very disagreeable, and he disagreed with this. And he said, and I talked about being disagreeable in episode number 1698, why being disagreeable is the key to your success. Tony looked at them and said, no, I'm not going to follow that and go through all of that just so I can go help people. I want to go help people right now. So, and then he goes on and tells this kind of funny story how he's out in the streets of LA at 3 in the morning looking for somebody that he wanted to help. And you can, if you ever take any of his programs, you can hear him talk about it himself. But the whole point is, the reason I'm bringing this up is that Tony didn't want to go through all the steps that everybody else was going through. He said, all right, I have taken enough of this information in here that now I want to go and actually get some activity knowledge and go do something. And this is how he got into doing what he does now. Me, for example, I do live events now. I have the Work on Your Game live event coming up January 21st and 22nd on leadership and communication. I started doing live events after 6 years of doing events at other people's events, or 6 years of speaking at other people's events. So I would get on the stage and speak. I've done plenty of that, but I was doing it at events that were not my event. Now I'm doing it at my own event. But who says that I couldn't have just started with my own live events? I could have been doing my own live events 6 years ago if I had the idea and I was thinking about it in that way, but I wasn't. So someone else who was just starting out, if they're looking at my situation, you don't have to do it the exact same way that I did. You don't have to go speak at a bunch of 100 or 200 other people's platforms and then go start speaking on your own platform. You can start from the beginning doing your own platform if you want to do it that way. This is a way that you can skip steps and cut your timeline in half. So for another example, self-publishing, for example, there used to be a time when all of us were alive. It wasn't even but, let's say, 15 years ago, when if you wanted to write a book or have a book out in the world for people to buy, let's just put it that way, not write a book, anyone can write a book, but to have a book out there in the world that people can buy on a website like an Amazon or in a bookstore, you had to have a publishing deal through a publishing company. And publishing companies are very traditional in the way they do things. At least they had been up to that point, and there were a lot of people trying to get in. There were a ton of gatekeepers. In order for you to get a publishing deal, you had to go through one of those gatekeepers. Someone had to approve of you. You had to be approved of by somebody, and then there was so many different people that had to sign off on everything that you were doing before your book would actually come out. And it was a lot of red tape, and it takes a long ass time. And still to this day, the traditional publishing industry is still like this. There's still a bunch of people that have to sign off on everything. It still takes forever and a day between the time that you actually sign a book publishing contract and your book actually comes out. It is still a very long time. When I signed a contract for my book, Work on Your Game, the book didn't come out till, what was that? It's about 18 months after I signed the contract. And it does not take me 18 months to write a book. I've written 29 books, and do the math, I'm not that old. It doesn't take 18 months to put a book out, but it took me 18 months to put that book out simply because all the red tape and all the shit that had to be going through just to get the book to come out. The point is, there were so many steps to get that book done. I'm proud of the book. Came out great. The book is Work on Your Game. Hopefully you've read it. If you haven't, you can get it at workonyourgamebook.com. But the point is, the self-publishing industry cut all those steps out. The step of signing a contract got cut out. The step of being approved of by the marketing department of a publishing company or their sales department, that got cut out. The step of having the editor and the head editor and the other editor to the editor and the editor to the editor, all of that stuff got cut out. Getting your book out to the bookstores is not necessarily one of the steps anymore. You can still get your book in bookstores, but you don't have to. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just upload your files and such straight to Amazon, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to physically talk to anybody. You don't have to physically touch anything. Your book can be on Amazon, and someone can order a physical copy of your book, and you never have to actually touch the book if you don't want to. So all of these steps have been eliminated. This has been one of the great things about what the internet has done, basically. We could use the whole internet as an example here, is that the internet has cut out many of the steps necessary to do things that traditionally it took many steps and a lot of red tape and going through a bunch of gatekeepers in order to get done the things that you wanted to get done. Let's say 20 years ago, if you wanted to have a TV show, you wanted someone to look at a screen and see you and hear what you had to say and be entertained by your jokes and watch your dances or whatever it is that you were doing, you had to get some kind of contract or a TV show somewhere. Now, there were only so many channels, there were only so many networks, and therefore a limited number of gatekeepers, and they were being overwhelmed with people trying to get through their gate. So they wielded a ton of power because they could control who got in and who didn't get in. But then in 2005, this new company came out called YouTube. And what did YouTube say? YouTube said, all right, we're going to lower the gate. We're going to completely remove the, they didn't lower the gate, they removed the gate. There is no gate. Anyone can put themselves on a screen, albeit a computer screen, not necessarily a TV screen, but this is what everybody's watching now anyway. People who, I don't even own a television and I know what's going on. So now you can put yourself on a screen straight from the luxury of your own home, right through a device, a smartphone, which all of us already have. You can broadcast yourself to the world straight from your couch, and you never even have to go outside, never have to shake a hand or have a one-on-one personal conversation. YouTube completely removed the gate. So now it went from being a 20-step process to get on a screen for people to watch you from their home. Let's say you live in New York, you want someone in California to watch you. It was 20 steps you had to follow to get there, and a lot of time. Now is only 2 steps. Step 1, you record something. Step 2, you upload it to YouTube and make it public. Now it's out there. Now that person in California can see you, and you could do this within the next 30 seconds. Not 30 months, not 30 weeks, not 30 years, 30 seconds. You can have your material out there for somebody to watch you on the screen. So a lot of what the internet did, a lot of what social media did, a lot of what all of these self-broadcasting and self-publishing platforms, you could even look at a Facebook, a YouTube, Instagram, podcasting, all of these are self-publishing platforms where one person can publish themselves. That's what self-publishing means, not just limited to books. Have eliminated a whole bunch of the steps and cut the timeline in half for a lot of people. So there are a lot of talented people right now who are professional bloggers and self-published authors making full-time income from doing what they do and they only had to take a couple steps to do it, whereas 20 years ago, they would have all been fighting for a small slice of the same pie. Nowadays, there is no pie. Everybody can create their own pie. This is what the internet has done, is cut down all the steps for so many people. So what you can do is look at your situation, and instead of thinking you have to go through all these steps that you have laid out, ask yourself or talk to someone who can help you strategize as to, all right, where can I actually skip some steps? Do I actually need to follow all of these steps? Or am I doing some extra stuff that I don't really need to be doing here? Ask yourself this question. And if you hop on a call with me in my 3rd day mastermind, the call up front is just an exploratory call, it's free of charge. I can probably help you with your strategizing, especially when it comes to your business, when it comes to your accountability, your fitness, your overall personal professional development. I'll tell you about that later on in the episode, but there is a link down below for you to register for that call. if that sounds like something you'd be interested in. So the second point is skipping steps. Point number 3, today's topic once again is how to cut your timelines in half. Number 3, urgency and big dominoes. This is the third way to do things. When we as humans are faced with an urgent situation, we usually do both steps 1 and 2. When we're faced with an urgent situation, do we, number 1, stop trying to do everything ourselves and we just focus on the main things that we can do and get other people involved with us? And number 2, we start skipping steps. Okay, I'm not going to go through all 7 of these steps right now. I'm going to knock all these out in the next 2 minutes, and I'm only going to follow 2 steps, but I'm going to take care of everything. We usually do that when we face an urgent situation, all of a sudden. Our magic formula, we get urgent, all of a sudden we start doing all these things that greatly increase our efficiency that we could have been doing all along, but without that urgency kicking us in the ass, we never would have did it. So when we face urgency, we do steps 1 and 2, and then we quickly identify the big dominoes. What are big dominoes? They are the one big thing or the one big step, the one solution that if that one is reached, concluded, taken care of, it renders all the other steps completely unnecessary and irrelevant. Then we attack that big domino. Once we identify what it is, we attack the big domino. And because we are in an urgent situation, we usually knock over that domino. And once you knock over the big domino, that domino knocks over all the other dominoes by itself. So instead of knocking over 1,000 dominoes one at a time, you knock over one big domino and it takes care of the other 999 for you. So where are you going to focus your time? Doing everything one at a time, or focus on this one that can take care of everything for you? This is the magic formula. When we get urgent in life, we get the same things done that we were working on before, but we get them done much faster, and paradoxically, it actually feels easier simply because we have urgency on our side. We identify a big domino and then we focus on the big domino. What many of us do, and I talked about this in my episode on insight. If you haven't listened to that episode, that is episode number 1177. The key from going from 1x to the key to going from 1x to 10x is insight, is that many of us, and I heard Seth Godin, one of my favorite authors, he talked about this, is that our own self-talk and our habits seduce us into thinking we should just keep doing 1x work, things that we're doing things one at a time, one step at a time, and it takes forever, and we feel like we're on the right path, but it takes so long. By the time we get done, if ever, we've used up all of our time, we've used up all of our vitality, and this is what keeps us from doing 10x level work. 10x level work is the kind of stuff that is the big domino, the kind of thing that if I just take care of this one thing, if I focus all my energy on just doing this one thing, I don't need to do these other 47 steps. I could just knock down this one, everything else is taken care of. This is kind of like moonshot thinking. There's a guy by the name of Astro Teller. He talks about this. He gives a quick little presentation that he's done probably 100 times called Moonshot Thinking. If you look him up on YouTube, his name is Astro Teller. Spell it how it sounds. And type in the word moonshot and look up this video of him talking. Tim Ferriss on his podcast, he posted a link, not a link, but he posted the audio of Astro giving his talk, and the videos, the whole episode is like 10 minutes. So go and look that up, Astro Teller Moonshot. And he talks about this, how many people, and Seth talked about the same thing, and I talked about it in this insight episode, and so you heard so many people talk about it. Understand, this is a key understanding right here, is that we as humans, we just get programmed to do this 1x work where we're doing one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. The thing is, it takes too long and we're following all the steps and we're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, which means we're in competition with everybody else, which is a difficult position to be in because you're not going to beat out the whole world. You can beat out one person. Can you beat out the whole world? Probably not. The better way of doing it is to play the game that other people aren't even trying to play, which is the 10x game, where you're doing work, but you're working on a much bigger problem. Instead of working on these small problems that you think you can handle, like most people do, work on a big problem that most people think is too big for them. And when you work on it, you have very little competition. And then when you solve it, you have wiped out 10 other problems by wiping out just one problem. And your ROI is 10 times what everybody else's is. It's actually 100 times what everybody else's is, because you knocked out one and you knocked out the other 10. You get 10 times the results that everybody else gets, 10 times the ROI of everybody else, simply because you decided to work on a different problem. You asked yourself a better question. Ask yourself a better question. This happens to be one of my books, which you can get at workonyourgame.com/books. It's called Ask Yourself a Better Question. This is what we do when we get urgency and when we start identifying those big dominoes. So all this said, let's recap today's class, which is how to cut your timelines in half. First of all, stop doing everything by yourself. You don't have every skill to be proficient. You don't enjoy every task enough to be efficient. So explore your options. Get other people to help you. Find some software, find a program, figure out something to where you are not doing all the work by yourself, and maybe just cut some pieces out of your process that you don't even need to be doing. So leads us to point number 2, skip steps. Sometimes we have longer than needed timelines simply because we feel like we have to go through 7 steps when in actuality, we only really need to go through 3. And sometimes in life, you just have to ask yourself, all right, what steps can I cut out here? How can I eliminate some things and kind of skip the line in what I'm doing here, jump around and take care of steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 by just doing one thing instead of doing each one of them one at a time and stretching time out for no reason as if we have unlimited time, which we do not. Point number 3, urgency and big dominoes. When human beings get urgent, this happens to all of us, we usually first start skipping steps and we stop trying to do everything on our own. We get other people enrolled simply because our energy makes other people want to follow us. That's what happens when people are urgent. And we quickly identify big dominoes. That is the one big thing. What's the one thing I can take care of right now that will solve all of these problems that I'm having right now? Usually we're pretty good at identifying that big domino when we are in an urgent state of mind. All right, it's hard for us to do it when we're in our normal state of mind, so to speak. But when we get urgent, these things are easy to do. And this is why I talk about urgency so often and I spend so much time on it whenever I talk about urgency, because it changes our mindset. And when we get into that mindset, all of a sudden we magically just get things done a lot easier and a lot faster than we were before. Not because we got any increase in skill, not because we got any extra information or knowledge or anything. It's just because we changed our frame of mind. We start looking at things different, and thus we do things different, and thus we get different results. This is what happens with urgency. We identify that big domino, the one big thing that renders all the other steps unnecessary, irrelevant, then we attack the big domino, and because we're being urgent, we usually knock the domino down. This is a magic formula. We get things done faster, and at the same time that we do it faster, it's also easier. Imagine that. All this being said, that is all connected to the 3rd day, which is this book right here. You can get your free copy. If you have not ordered this yet, go to thirddaybook.com. The book's free. You're just ordering your free copy. All you're going to do is cover the shipping, and I'll ship it out to you wherever you are. Thirddaybook.com. That link is down below in the description. So all this said, 2 things. First of all, you want my daily motivation text? Text me at 305-384-6894. Secondly, if you are interested in being coached by me, coach one-on-one, accountability, strategy, making sure you're doing the things that you need to do and there's an actual plan in place for you to do it, then get on a call with me at my 3rd day mastermind. The link is workonyourgameuniversity.com/call, C-A-L-L. You'll hop on a free call with me. That link is down below in the description. We'll talk about what we need to talk about there. Work on your game. Dre all day.